every single member made it safe and sound to their destination at the exact date that they wrote down in their journals for the goal. Every single member, before they made it to the destination, it was not off by much, it was off by like a few miles or something. Every single member, they died before they reached their destination. What's up? David here. And today I'm in Seoul, South Korea, and I want to tell you a little story about being consistent and being disciplined. And this story goes back way back in the day when there was a race to be the first people to get to Antarctica, to get to the South Pole. And the race was on between two different groups. Group number one was led by Robert Falcon Scott, and group number two was led by Roald Amundsen. And these two teams, they had completely different strategies. So strategy for team number one by Mr. Scott over here is whenever there was good weather, whenever the sun was out, there was no blizzard or anything, they would march until they couldn't march anymore. So they had the strategy of just going all out, having these bursts of walking. And then on days when weather was bad, when there was a blizzard, whatever it is, then those days they would rest, right? So that was strategy for team number one. Team number two had a completely different strategy. Team number two strategy was, okay, whether or not the weather is good or not, we are going to march, and we are going to march a specific number. We're going to march 20 miles every single day, regardless of the weather. That could be a big freaking blizzard outside, and we'll be marching 20 miles every single day. So here's what happened to these two teams. And by the way, this type of strategy shifted their mindset, because when you look at something with this discipline of like, I'm going to do something every single day, then it completely shifts your mindset, doesn't it? So like when you look back at the journal entries of some of these team members, like for example, a journal entry in team number one, that somebody wrote down that, hey, this is a horrible blizzard that we're witnessing right now. I don't know if anybody can walk through such weather conditions. Whereas if you compare it with a journal entry from team number two, it was the exact same day with the exact same blizzard. That person wrote, hey, even though the weather conditions weren't perfect, we were able to get down our 20-mile march for the day. So it completely, shifted their mindset between these two teams because they had completely different strategies. So here's what happened though. So team number one, the strategy where they had a burst of marching followed by days of rest. Team number one, every single member, before they made it to the destination, it was not off by much, it was off by like a few miles or something. Every single member, they died before they reached their destination. But team number two, the one with the consistency plan, every single member made it safe and sound to their destination at the exact date that they wrote down in their journals for the goal. So the moral of the story is this. The moral of the story is being consistent. And this story comes from Jim Collins, by the way. Jim Collins is the business writer. I mentioned him a few times before, but he studied some of the most successful businesses and he compared them to businesses that weren't as successful, right? And one thing that the successful businesses had was this idea of consistency. They had this 20-mile march mindset. And so that's what made the successful businesses different from the ones that, failed in their business. So that's what I'm trying to say, is you got to be consistent. You got to be disciplined. And it doesn't have to be much, by the way, because the 20-mile march, it's not like a huge number. It's not like, okay, we're going to watch 200 miles march. We're going to march 200 miles every single day, right? So even with the smaller number is way better if you're just consistent with that smaller number. So in like real life example, let's just say like you're doing some writing. What's a lot better if you consistently write for an hour a day rather than trying to write like 10 hours for one day and then, take a few days of rest and then a week later write another 10 hours. It's a lot better if you're just more consistent at it, such as, as the example shows, right? So The end summary here is being consistent. Being consistent. It doesn't have to be a big number. Just keep a number that is reachable every single day and be consistent, and that's how you get long-term success, rather than just having that short burst of motivation followed by multiple days of not doing anything, and then another burst of motivation, because that strategy doesn't work, especially for the long term. So that's it for today. I hope you found value out of this story, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. I'm like enjoying the view out here, so thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.